Again, guys. So still drying, still setting, but we are putting it up. It's been a bit interesting, to say the least. A couple of bits, I mean, bear in mind I primed this with 2K primer, so it should have been perfect. Couple of bits, we had a few reactions on, nothing major, but it's a little bit of a setback. Little bits of dirt I got in, which is as to be expected, I'm afraid, for what we're playing. Sorry about that, the phone rang. I'm not certain about, I've had the colour matched, and the company I use are always spot on, and I took them one of the wings down, the rear arches, took it down to get a colour match, so I just can't help but think this is a little bit brighter. So that's got, you can never really tell until you clear coat, and I probably should have, in hindsight, done a test panel and then cleared it and then checked it, but it might be fine. It just looks, that looks darker than that. So of course the nose even looks darker than the arches there, so I don't know, it might be fine, or we might have to do blends into the other panel, or we might have to either repaint these or spray the rest of it. I haven't decided what's going to happen yet. We'll have to see what it looks like when it's on. Yeah, so we just let this cure. If anyone's interested in what I use, this has got, this is 2K clear coat with express hardener for the time of year we're using. This will probably be touch dry in about an hour. It'll take, whereas no, even fast hardeners will probably take 6 or 7 hours in this kind of conditions. Every bit will get a little bit of a infrared bake, which will help cure it, and then as soon as it's manageable, I have to find somewhere to put it all. So get the car in and get that prepped. Anyway, that's where we're up to. Cheers. Excuse the music. Started flattening this down. Obviously that's all painted up. I was hoping to get this painted today, all done, and I'd only bought a litre of, which I thought was plenty, to be fair, to paint all the car. A litre of metallic GTS Boo, and I've run out. I knew it was going to be tight after I'd done the front panels, and it's Saturday evening, so I'm not going to get any paint until next week now. Bit of a pain. I just wanted to hope that I could get enough out of this side and get the shell painted, and it could be curing for the next few days. That's life. But I'm still pleased with how it's going. I have to start on something else, but I really wanted to get this done, so then maybe tomorrow I could put the suspension arms on, get it rolling, so I can at least move it a bit easier, find a home for it. Ho hum. I have to be more patient. I'm also going to need loads of nuts and bolts and fittings from the. I left some of it on the old front frame, so all the suspension bolts, the extension part for the shocks and springs for the wide tracks. But yeah, so maybe tomorrow I'll refurb the other wheels. I don't know yet. We'll see how it goes. Hi guys, I've been a bit busy. I haven't been out to spend much time on it the last week or so. But where's coming a post from Alistair Westall, and I'm hopefully pronouncing his name correctly, from the Facebook forums. He seemed to be that everyone was saying go to him for your vinyl. So I messaged him. He's a really nice fellow, and in chatting with him we had a few chats of what I was after. Mentally I was after a dark grey, something similar to this. It's a long conversation, and he said, I'll send you some samples out. Did you think about yellow? I was like, yellow? No, yellow's not going to be right. But he showed me a couple of pictures of one that's got the yellow side stripes and the yellow bonnet stripe. I thought, cool, that looks good, but will it look any good in the flesh? So nevertheless, the samples have arrived, and I've done a terrible job of throwing them on the old bonnet. So you have to excuse the I'm going to be paying somebody to do these, because it's harder than it looks. Or maybe I'm just out of practice. Nevertheless, looking down it, so I asked him for the carbon, which is this style, the black, the gunmetal, which is fleck wise very similar to the Viper blue, so I do like that. That was what I was initially after. I've got the dark grey wheels, so I thought dark grey stripe. But this, I quite like this actually. So I like these three, are my favourites, but I haven't decided what I'm going to go for yet. And then my brain's running away with itself, as it does whenever you're doing a project and you're trying to personalise it. I'm thinking to myself, wow, if I've got yellow stripe, what else am I going to have that's yellow that I'll pick up? Should I paint the roll bar yellow? All these questions, or if not, if I do go for the gunmetal grey, should I paint the roll bar gunmetal grey? So on, just try and tie it all in together. But so I'm not decided. I'm going to leave it open-ended for the meanwhile, and let you boys think on as well. If you want to put any comments of what you like, what you think would be best for it, let us know. Eventually, hopefully in the next week or so, we should get round to getting this thing painted and cut back and polished and start putting a suspension on. But it's a busy time of year for me, so we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, I don't know what to think. Anyway, catch up soon. Okay, boys and girls, after doing my Decal test a minute ago, I thought, oh, I've got my new dual action sander and a few other bits I wanted to play with, and I've got much more involved than I thought I was going to. Now, the scuttle panel, when I painted it, and the same with the top of the bonnet, I think I laid it on a little bit too thick. And I don't know if you can't really pick it up here. There is a slight, there's a couple of bits, there's some dirt in it, which is not ideal, but we'll get that out. And there's just a little bit of a mottled effect, and it was, when I sprayed it, it was really good, really clear, and then it settled funny, and I'm not sure. We've got temperature in the garage is not high, so on and so forth. So either way, I knew I was going to have to do some either prep work or going over the top of it. So so what I've done for the meanwhile, as you can see that there's bits in it, I've polished this half of it. Now, it's not a technique I've used before. I've always done wet sanding, never done dry sanding, so I always used, I don't know, 1500 on a block, done over it, and then worked my way up 2000, and then after that I've gone on to the mop. So doing a bit of research, it's someone said about these 3M pads, no affiliation whatsoever. Trizac in particular, which are these style, they're sort of partially foamed, and they've got a lot of breather holes in them. They're easy to clean out, and they seem to last quite well. I mean, by comparison to a normal wet and dry pad, they seem to last a lot longer, but they are probably 5 times the price. So following the advice of some people online about just going from a 1200, 1500, 3000, 6000 dry dual action polishing. Now I thought that would be far too aggressive and leave me with all kinds of scratching and everything. Now I haven't polished this at all, not polished it, it's been sanded, but none of this side's polished, and you can see the finish is already really rather good. And when I get a moment, maybe in a minute, I shall put the mop on it, and that is just going to shine really well. So I'm very pleased with how this bit has come out. So if we can get the worst bit of paint, which was this bit, and get it to here before, and this has not been wet sanded, so normally I wouldn't even get this high finish on a wet sand, this amount of gloss. So I'm quite excited to how this is going to come out. It's going to be really good. Alright, so I've just given that a very quick polish on the dual action sander. So not as good as, not as heavier on the paint as a normal mop would be. But you can see, even just with that very quick application, and that's only one pass, I can see, I mean, you know, I'm going to be, there's a couple of bits here that need a little bit of work, where the raise of this has kept me from getting some of the scratches out there, but I mean the rest of it's really good. And actually, I mean, this is the factory bonnet, you know, it's really quite good in my opinion, at least. So I'm very pleased. This is going to turn out really well. Right, slowly making some progress. We are nearly finished with the paint, but still got a problem with this crash wrap. The only thing I've tried so far has not worked, and also the stone chips on this leading edge here, they're going to let the car down, so we're going to have to do something with those. So I've tried the rubber wheel, didn't work. I've tried sticky stuff remover, which is alright getting the glue off once you get the plastic off, but it's no good at doing this. So what I'm going to do is, similar to my finishing of the bodywork, I'm going to 1200 wet and dry it. Hopefully that'll get this off. I don't want to go anything harder than that, that will damage the paint. So we're going to do that. All this area is still quite rough, so I'm probably going to prep this, and then I'm going to try and do a 2K rubbing, where we're going to get some 2K, layer it over it so it fills in the holes, be mixed with the colour, and then polish the death out of it, and hopefully that will reduce it, if not hide it all completely. I don't really want to paint the whole wing at the moment, so I'm going to try that first, and then if that's good then I'll leave it, and if not then I might look at doing the whole thing, but I'm just a bit painted out at the moment, so I can't face it. There we go. So yeah, everything else is looking up pretty good. Still got to do some, I haven't looked at doing the bonnet, finishing up the bonnet yet properly, other than the old style rather than the new style of polishing. And I made a decision on the stripe. I've gone to go for the gunmetal grey. I was very torn to the yellow, but in the end I've gone with the grey. What else has been going on? Not a lot really. Hopefully I'll get a good run at it this weekend and get some jobs done, and we're very nearly ready to start doing assembly, which in itself is going to cause some questions, but that's part of the fun. So finally got all the crash wrap off, which is great. What a pain, what a pain. In the end, the best way I could work it was a mixture of brake cleaner, sticky stuff remover, which was probably the most effective in the end, and some very, very light sandpaper. Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's sticky stuff remover on top, and just sort of let it sit really for a while. And eventually, I mean, you could scrape it off. There's a scrape. I recommend this if you ever got to get any of that off. These vinyl removing scrapers. That was the best tool out of everything. The actual glue from the wrap has slightly eaten. I really can't explain it. Yeah. Oh, it's eaten into the clear coat or not. You can't really see it now, I'll be honest, but when I was going through the the dry sanding stages, just to bring this back to shine, you could see like it was Fender wrap was the brand, and you could see that as you sanded over it, you could see the lettering still in the clear coat. It's not something you can see you know, at any other point, but again, the fact that that's made some kind of impact on the clear coat's a bit annoying. Nevertheless, see what I've done for the minute. There's nothing much on this. I've given it a sand, so it's all the high spots have been taken off, or at least most of them, and I'm going to try and save this from being painted, but we'll see. Oh, I've still got to get that off there and all. That might be fun. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to get some paint mixed up, and I'm just going to do a rub in on all these, and do a few cut a few coats, and then we'll come back to it with a machine, and then we'll take all of the higher sections out. Hopefully it will leave all the paint in the holes. Someone on YouTube showed me years ago about dealing with stone chips on the front of cars and a similar method, and I only used it a couple of times and it worked quite well, but it wasn't metallic blue. This is quite a light tone, so it could well stand out like lighter coloured dots, so we'll see. Again, like I say, I'll try to preserve the original wheel arch, but if not, we'll have to paint it. Righto, I wasn't happy with this side, so done it again, which is good. So that's just waiting for metallic coat to set. Well, this side's all very lovely indeed. In a minute I'm going to get polishing this side up, and I might start thinking about building this side this afternoon, but we'll see how time goes. But meanwhile, I'm going to let this dry off, brush off, and then I'm going to put some clear on it. What else happened? Okay, well, I was doing the stone chip repair on this one, which was going really well, but there was a lump in the fiberglass and I burnt through when I was polishing or sanding. Just around here somewhere it was. So the rest of it actually come out okay, but of course now I've got to the point where I'm going to do, I've already started now, which is put a metallic coat on it, and then we'll blend that. Same with the tip down here. Doesn't mean we'll have to refit the stone guard, but I might even get some chip edge protector. I don't know, I'm going to speak to somebody about that, see if we can get the get some plastic to cover that so it doesn't damage it as much next time round. I've not looked at the other wheel arch yet. It's back there amongst everything else, and I really don't want to be disturbing anything for the minute, so that's a job for another day. What else? Oh, I noticed there was loads of stone chips on the underside of this foot impact beam, so I've done a quick rubbing on that. You can see I'm not too fussed, it's the underside, but nevertheless it doesn't look anywhere near as bad as it did. Little wins. So yeah, just hopefully today will be the last of any blue painting in these doing, with exception of maybe that wheel arch, but at least that means that we will be there paint wise. We'll start getting the suspension on and then starting putting the whole thing back together. Now I've been concerned about when I get the scuttle panel put back on, how to go about it. There's a 4 million, okay, I'm slightly exaggerating, there's quite a lot of rivets in it, and there's a lot of people, well, I say a lot of people on the owners clubs who say that instead of doing rivets here, you could put riv nuts in and then fix it in with riv nuts and M4 bolts, which and you don't need to use as many, because if you go from standard screen to aero screen and so on and so forth, you want to be able to unbolt it rather than pick it apart every time. Equally, if you ever need to get to the wiring of the dash, it's a lot easier to undo the 2 bolts here, undo the riv nuts and pull the scuttle off, which I think probably on a kit car is not a bad idea. So I think I might be going to sort some riv nuts out for that. Yeah, I was so looking forward to starting to put this back together. It's been a bit wheelbarrow now, longer than it was a complete car in my ownership, so it's difficult to start visualising it all back together, and when I've got so much blue parts sitting around, it feels like it's going to be too much. But once we get everything back together, I'm sure it's going to look beautiful, but it just feels like a long way to go. But yeah, so switch in a bit. 4 coats clear. I was only going to do 3, but I looked at it and I thought it needs just a little more. Paint any vertical surfaces is always a pain in the bum because it wants to orange peel up a little bit. I mean, not bad. By the time it dries and then we wet sand it, it's going to look like a mirror finish. It's going to be great. Very pleased with how this side's gone. It's gone really well. And this is also looking pretty good. I've not spent too much time on the underside of the stone chip protector on the basis that I'm never going to see it, but this outer edge is looking good. I think that'll look much better. I'm just going to have to sort out the other one now, but other than that, it's all good. So very pleased, pleased. Finally be able to take all this brown paper off, start looking at the car again. Yeah, cool beans, tidy up time.